I was worried when I moved in with my girlfriend because she's got two girls. I had this thought in the back of my mind: what if I was in a weird situation, just a totally innocent situation that could progress into something else?
Dave, welcome. I'm glad you decided to go ahead and agree to do this interview to talk about your crime. You were charged with the crime of child pornography. Can you tell us a little bit about your life? How old are you now, Dave?
I'm currently 36 years old. I'm fortunate enough to still be employed. I design databases for a research company. I am divorced, but I currently live with my girlfriend. We've been together for almost 4 years now. We have children. We have seven of them together between her and I. The oldest is 14 and the youngest just turned one. She's got two girls. I have five boys. My five are from my previous marriage.
When were you charged with the crime of child pornography?
I was officially charged right after Christmas last year. The whole case came about around April of 2016. After they confiscated my computers and everything, they officially charged me about 9 months later.
How long were you looking at child pornography before you were actually charged?
Probably off and on for close to 10 years. The majority of my adult life, I'd say.
What was your childhood like?
My childhood was pretty rocky. I grew up mostly with my grandparents, moved around a lot. My dad and mom divorced when I was real young. I didn't meet him until I was in my 20s. My mom got married to my stepdad, and he was an alcoholic. He was pretty abusive, both verbally and mentally, or physically and mentally. I have a sister. She's about 12 years younger than me. We get along okay. I got a pretty good relationship with my mom. I've got an okay relationship with my dad, and I don't talk to my stepdad at all.
Did anything ever happen with your stepfather?
No, other than just being physically abusive, not sexual.
Is he still with your mother?
Yeah, they're still together. I don't know why, but yeah, they're still definitely together. I just, I refuse to talk to him. I refuse to be part of his life.
Are you able to remember the first time you started having the urges to want to look at child porn?
Maybe not the first time per se, but I remember about when. I was in my early 20s, I think, and things in my current relationship really just weren't going well. And I had been watching a lot of regular adult porn. I was pretty popular in high school, and by this point in time in my life, that popularity had pretty much died down. My girlfriend and I weren't getting along. I was watching a lot of adult porn, and I just got these ideas in my head and started searching the internet to, I don't know, satisfy some weird curiosity, I guess.
What was the age of the children in there, and what was the initial thought that went through your mind?
The ages would range from like 13 to probably 17, and then into the adult porn range. My initial thought was, oh my God, that's fucked up. Um, I don't know why I initially went down that road, but it was more of a shock experience at first. It was like, wow, this actually happened to somebody. What am I watching here? Somehow or another, that didn't curve me from wanting to get away from it. I started justifying it in my mind of almost like it was watching a horror movie. You know, we pretend horror movies don't exist because they they really don't. You know, it's just actors, it's fake blood. And in the back of your mind, you just kind of convince yourself of a similar thing. You know, this is a person that this happened to a long time ago in a land far, far away. You know, like what crime are you really committing to satisfy a curiosity?
The porn that you were looking at, what would you say the style of it was? And you don't need to get too graphic on it, but just to give viewers kind of an idea of where your mind frame was then.
So it originally started with kids having or messing around with each other. And then I guess I progressed more to like child and adult. I could never get into the ones where the child was being forced into the situation. That I don't know. There was just some kind of weird curiosity of a child going that direction with an adult. Like almost as if it was mutual. I don't know how to explain it better than that.
What was it about child porn versus adult porn that you felt that you were becoming addicted to?
The taboo nature of it, the shock and awe feeling of it. You get desensitized watching normal porn after a while. In this particular realm, it's so taboo that any viewing of it is like a slap in the face. It's a complete shocker, and I guess that's more of what I was after. I was just that weird excitement.
Was there a sexual addiction to it?
You would think so. You would think that that's like what would drive a person to go look at it, but I never really had oh my God, I need to go take care of myself because of what I just watched. It was never like that. It was just, it was more of an experience of, wow, that just happened. That's messed up. And I think some of it, now that I've looked back on it and I think about it, I think some of it was trying to like experience it in a way. Like, I don't know how to explain it, like in almost an emotional way, like not in a sexual way, but trying to feel the feelings that the people were going through.
Did you know that it was wrong at the point that the federal charges could come from something like this?
At first, no. Probably for the first couple of years, I never thought about it being wrong. Um, and then as you start to see people get busted for it on the internet or on the news, you start to realize that it is wrong. Other than a moral wrong, I did have a sense of this is morally wrong, but legally wrong for quite a while. I didn't think about it like that. I didn't think that there was an actual legal boundary there. And then once I figured out that there was, once you start becoming aware of it, like I said, I just justify it to myself. I'm in the privacy of my home. I don't talk to people about it. I don't share this with anybody. I don't ask anybody for it. I've never paid for it. It's just there on the internet, a few keystrokes.
And were these pretty like popular websites that you would go to that other people that may be out there right now looking at child porn maybe using these same type of sites?
Probably, yeah. So I would pretty much stick to peer-to-peer networks because I just know that they're riddled with it. You can go on a peer-to-peer network and search for something simple and totally unrelated, and your screen would fill up with it. So,
Can you explain to people that are watching this right now what peer-to-peer networks might be?
like LimeWire, BearShare, those kinds of music file sharing networks. Those are typically peer-to-peer.
And those are still up and running. Some of those sites are still up and running now.
Yeah, quite a few of them are. From what I understand, it's quite hard to shut them down.
Were you ever in fear that some of these videos that you may have been downloading may have been put out by like federal agencies, the feds, the cops, to the point where they're trying to catch people that are downloading this type of porn?
I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I did think that way. I did think occasionally, well, what if this is baited somehow? What if this has got some kind of tag on it that's sending a red flag up? But never really applied that thought to anything. It was a quick thought and it was gone, you know?
Did you feel safe looking at the pictures and videos?
Yeah, I did actually. Was free. I was in the privacy of my own home. I usually did it when nobody was home. I never talked to anybody about it. It was just my little secret. And I never thought that anybody could tell what I was doing, much less, much less arrest me for it.
Was there any type of guilt after you would download and watch something?
Yeah, absolutely. Darn near every time. Every time was just this total feeling of remorse and almost disgust with myself of why I would go down this road. Why did I let myself look at this? And whenever I got done watching it, I just felt absolutely disgusted by it.
So knowing you felt like that after viewing it, when you would say you were at the most viewing time, how often daily do you feel that you were viewing?
At the peak of it, probably 2 or 3 times a week. In the last couple of years, maybe once or twice a month. Even then, I couldn't tell you what drew me to it. I think at the peak of it, it was more of a curiosity of what could I find? Like, you'd imagine a situation and you would go search the internet for it. And unfortunately, it's the internet. You can find anything you can think of. The last couple of years has just been more of old habit and a regular adult porn just being boring.
And did you ever share any of this, or was there any people that you would communicate with that you would send and receive porn from?
No, I never did. I never felt the urge to either. I guess I felt ashamedful enough of it and didn't feel like dragging anybody else down that rabbit hole. I do remember when I was first got into it, I did share a file with one of my friends, and he was disgusted by it and scolded me for doing it. And I've never had an urge to go into a chat room and talk to people about it or try to do any kind of community sharing or any of that stuff. That just wasn't for me.
Did you not share it with other people, like friends, because of the fear of how they would view you, or was it you didn't have an interest in sharing it with anybody?
Mostly because I didn't have an interest. At first, I did have the interest in sharing it, and then it is such a taboo thing. I'm kind of glad this happened because there was a long time that I just wished the internet would be rid of it. It was just too easy to find.
Was it just streaming, or would you actually have to download this to your computer?
You would have to actually download it to your computer in order to view it. Yeah, and I would delete it almost instantly. I would open it up, view it for a couple minutes. I was mostly interested in movies more than pictures.
Where would you view this at?
It was usually always at home on the weekends when nobody else was there.
Being you have a family, being you have 7 children that range in different ages, was there ever a point in time where you were afraid that your addiction for this was going to cross over to where you might start having weird thoughts or ideas of being attracted to physically younger people, either your children, their friends, other children out and about?
There was a time, and it was before I had children, that I had a fear that might become a possibility. Since I've had children, I've had more of a realization that they look up to us to be their protectors. We We are all they have. To put somebody through that and them not understand it, them having no control over it, you ruin that person for the rest of their life. I was worried when I moved in with my girlfriend because she's got two girls. I had this thought in the back of my mind: what if I was in a weird situation, just a totally innocent situation that could progress into something else? I've taken steps to not let those situations happen. Like, I don't wrestle around with her girls. I try never to be home alone with them. I encourage an open communication between their mom and them.
Now, that's with your own children. Is there a time where you're ever out and about and you'll see other children that aren't either yours, or you don't have any actual relationship to them? Is there anything different that you feel that runs through your mind than that runs through somebody else's mind that might be looking at this right now?
I guess it all depends on the age of the child I'm looking at. If it's one that's more developed, like if we were at the park and I just happen to look over and I see a for lack of a better term, a well-developed 15 or 16-year-old, there's, a fleeting thought. But, younger than that, no.
How often throughout the 10-year period of time that you went through this would you find yourself driving down a road or by a school or by where you thought, younger children might be, to just catch a glimpse and run those thought scenarios through your mind?
It was never like I would never intentionally go to a school or drive by a park to get a glimpse. It was if I just happened to be in the area and I looked outside the window. When I was viewing it all the time, it was a very often thought. Like, if I saw somebody that was attractive to me, I would have a thought of it. So I would say in my 20s or so, probably almost every time I would see somebody that I felt was attractive, around the 15-year-old mark. In the last couple of years that I haven't been looking at it as much, it's not the same compulsive urge anymore. So I feel like a lot of it was just being exposed to it. Like I said, the desensitizing of my own emotions in my brain.
If you had to try to wrap your mind around what you think allows your brain to respond that way, I'm sure there's people out there that have thoughts and have never acted on it. There's people that have thoughts about looking at underage porn and have never actually done it. But what do you think is the difference that allowed you to do it? And clearly you had remorse and you knew it was wrong because you would delete it immediately after it happened. You would have thoughts of, a sick feeling after you're done and knowing that this isn't something you should be doing, but yet you would continue to do it the next time. What do you think was so compelling and so overpowering that your better judgment was silenced and you would still make these conscionable decisions?
Your brain just becomes desensitized to it and it gets a high from it. If you find yourself on the same road that I went down, I would say even just viewing it in the first place is a huge red flag. You have some things you need to get off your chest. You need to go seek counseling. You need to work with somebody.